So it's apparently been a very bad day for Foolio's killers. They're saying that the guys that actually, not even allegedly at this point, the guys that got convicted of killing Foolio, the rumor going around, and it is just a rumor, but a lot of people are claiming it, that they got stabbed in prison. They're in critical condition, and it's really, really bad. So I'm going to break everything down to you in this video. But before I get to that, if you don't know all of the backstory about Jacksonville's deadly gang war, I've just done an update video that's basically a sequel to my original video, all about kind of what was going on in Jacksonville, in the streets of Jacksonville, Foolio, Young and Ace's bitter gang war, how that all ended up going, the people that made it out alive, the people that didn't. And there was like 33 murders that I covered in this new video, where basically I said that the Jacksonville's gang war just spiraled out of control for years, following Who I Smoke and When I See You. It was just crazy. So this video covers everything. I also did a kind of short video that broke down Sean Gathwright's situation, who is kind of like the grade A student that really a lot of people were surprised that he was involved in the murder of Foolio. But basically, yeah. This is the full-blown 4-hour masterpiece where I break down absolutely everything that you could have ever possibly wanted to know about the Jacksonville gang war. And I'm really glad that everybody's supporting this video. And it's been a really good response on this. I'm really thankful that, you know, I had the time and the support from my team to kind of get back to the good old days of doing 3-4 hour videos. You know, this really was a labor of love, this video, and it really felt like a good return to form. So really enjoyed making this. And I wanted to bring attention to some of the comments on this because some of them are really meaningful. And I just wanted to let you know about this. This is kind of one of the top comments on there that was brought to my attention. I'm really proud to see this. Said, "Hi Ross, I'm Tonya Love, Prosper's mother. Thank you for taking the time to tell part of my son's story and for acknowledging my efforts to help stop gun violence in Jacksonville. There's another side to the story that's never been told. Thank you for remembering my son. God bless and rest in peace to those who lost their lives to gun violence. Rise in power to the mothers who will accept accountability and seek to create change." Now that's really heartwarming, and I'm so grateful that, you know, the work that I do is being kind of taken seriously and appreciated, you know, in a way that the people who are actually involved and affected by these things can understand where I'm coming from and why I'm talking about the things that I do. So there's more people giving their thoughts. Been waiting on this. I still regard your original Jacksonville video as one of your best ever. Kudos from Glasgow. The video of 23's son talking to his grave genuinely had me messed up as a father of two. There is a really tragic segment in this video where 23, one of Ace's, you know, close people, you know, he sort of went out with his brother and a couple of other friends. They were really like a whole group of brothers. But 23's son would be seen kind of visiting his gravesite, calling out for his dad. And it's just, it was so heartbreaking to see that. So I'm so grateful that everybody's kind of supporting this. I love your long documentaries. I don't know how you manage with all the work you've been doing, but thank you. I ain't gonna lie, it's been hard. It's been a lot of work. I've been at the courthouse doing that. I've been coming home working all night, working on this video. All the time I was at the David hearings, I was coming home and working into the night to finish this video off. Okay, it was not easy. All right, it was a lot to get done. Let me play you that clip that a lot of people are saying affected them. Initial speculation focused on who might have been in, which became one of the saddest pieces of footage tied to the aftermath of this incident.
Talking. I'm not talking, Mommy.
You gotta talk to him.
Daddy, are there?
Yes.
Daddy! Daddy!
Initial speculation. Man, it's heartbreaking. Every time I see that, it's just heartbreaking, man. You know, rest in peace to everybody who lost their lives, not just on that day when Ace survived the quadruple shooting that took 3 of his, you know, his brother's life, his actual brother, Quan, but, you know, his homies that were like brothers to him, 23 and Kobe. It was just awful situation. And rest in peace to everybody else that lost their lives. Even though he was very disrespectful, Foolio really didn't, you know, nobody deserves to be murdered. It's only your time when God says it's your time. So now, to move on from this horrible situation, the rumor going around is that the guys that killed Foolio have been stabbed. Okay, so this is Sean Gathwright. Iron Rap has posted this saying Sean got stabbed, saying pull through. Knife blood emojis. LOL. Long live Six. Six obviously being Foolio's nickname. So this is kind of going around everywhere now. People saying Foolio literally dissed him when he was alive and called him a goofy in front of everybody on live. They're talking about Iron Rap. It says that's probably why he's been in reception for so long. If that's actually the case, I had to guess Sean and Gutter getting the shit beat out of them at the reception center. But fuck kind of life is that? If you got to watch his back every day for the rest of his life, it just ain't worth it. The fact that no one can help him must be absolutely brutal for him. It's people saying no either. He checked in. He's snitching and they checked him in. He's in a mental medical case. They're waiting on a bed at Lake Butler. That's the medical camp where he can be a permanent and get medical. Or he said he's going to do himself first when he gets the chance. My friend Nate did that in the county when they gave him 2 years. When he got to prison, he was in the box 4 months because he tried to jump off the tier with a sheet around his neck after court. He never succeeded. Good guy, liked to get high, but not built for prison or jail. Swear off drugs, and that have been clean ever since. People saying, ain't nobody up the road riding for Six like that. The boys are good. Jacksonville dudes in prison. Obviously, don't go at each other because Jacksonville's numbers are so small. They got to stick together. People saying, justice for Foolio. Welcome to Life plays Life soundtrack. I don't know if I need to read that. Wonder how many soups was the hit. Paying for a hit in soup is crazy. They're saying you can't get stabbed in the reception center. Says if you leave the area in the day room and the benches by yourself, if you ain't that dude, you committing suicide. It's like 200 yards for the sally port, plus that's 2 windows, 2 sets of bars. The guards got to see the action, then they got to call a code and then get through 2 locked doors that won't open at the same time before they can even break it up. It says shit, you can get done anywhere, reception center or regular prison. So it's pretty bad, all right? These guys are living in hell now with this whole situation, and they put themselves in it. It's their own fault. Okay. Let me see if so it says Sean Gathright and apparently Rashad Murthy, they're saying they were both stabbed and put into critical condition. So this one's going around as well from Treyboy36. They're saying blank got blunt, lol, get up ghost, don't die, knife emoji, laughing emoji, demon emoji. He's playing Spinning and Bennin by Youngboy as the song, and they're saying rest up Six, Foolio's nickname. Another one, rest up Six, with a knife and a blood emoji. And the person who posted that's redacted. It says if they both die, that's going to be the ultimate get back, lol. Man, y'all act like this episode of Power or like them boys beefing with the cartel. They're saying this is a regular jailhouse hit. But that ain't normal, man. They're saying one of the dudes' name is Ghost. Damn, that was quick. Boys really getting back for Foolio without a gun. People says they paying people in there to do it. Some people are saying it's cap. All right, where's the evidence? Saying them dudes just got there. This is the thing. It's crazy to think, but it's like if they're just in their life without possibility of parole, how hard is it for some of Foolio's friends to get in touch with other people in that jail and just say, look, we fill in your commissary if you just make this happen. And you got other dudes in there doing life without the possibility of parole. So you might as well, I'm not condoning it, but you might as well, if you were in there and you're on life without possibility of parole, what is committing another murder inside there? That's not really a big... you haven't really got anything to lose at that point. Not condoning it, but I'm just saying that's probably the mindset. People saying, how true is that? I feel like it's fake. People don't believe it. Anyone dead? They're saying, Foolio, shit getting real now. I told folks them goofies wasn't going to make it. 80K and even respected anywhere but in their circle. They're saying, I bet Sean, he wishes he never tried to be a gangster. They're saying, bro, you read my mind. I swear I was going to say the same thing. I know he regret this stuff so bad. Dude had a great life, loving family, money, and more. He's so damn stupid. I know he cry every night. Saying, what are the chances that both of them get stabbed at different prisons on the same day? This has to be cap. They think the shit Breaking Bad or something. It says they think they got hit 2 different places in a 2-minute time frame, like Breaking Bad. The thing is, it might just be the news just got out, but this might have happened a while ago and separately. It says that cut shit deep in them prisons, 80K them ain't really got as many people up the road that's on that. I'm sure the 1,200 dudes tied in, but they most definitely poking about 6. Av, B, Bottom, and 45th all up and down the coast, not to mention people that's been down before the war. Stunt the 1st, 45th Rico. That boy was hated, but it's love there for sure. It says, Car, they doing regular jailhouse hits for commissary or bread, lol. It's different types of hoods and gangs in prison. They don't run that deep, especially in a Florida prison. Said, dude, they're not doing that for Foolio. They're doing it for commissary or bread. Somebody definitely made a call to get it done, though. Said at the end of the day, who's it for, man? People got family and friends up the road doing real time before, and 80K was thought of, especially 1,245th members. Even me and I'm a square 9 to 5er. It said, even me and I'm a square 9 to 5er. So, what else we seeing? It says, I doubt Sean got stabbed. Iron Rap deleted the post. He probably got the wrong info, and it was Ghost instead. Typical YNR behavior, false claiming. Some people saying this never happened. They're saying Sean got to toughen up now, boy. This ain't play. I knew somebody was going to get on his ass. I bet he thought he was so cool sitting in that car with Ghost and Davion. He wanted to impress them so bad. Now look. I never forget the dumbass picture of him at the club with that goofy ass smile on his face and his white boy hairstyle. He thought real life was a video game. First thing they're going to do is run to the net. Now, if they both shake back, it's going to be hard to get up with them because for real, they made it hot. Right? They're trying to turn Ghost into a ghost. It's crazy. It's supposed to be Ghost that got stabbed, but I don't think it's true because Scotty been there for months and ain't get stabbed, so why ain't nothing happened to him? People saying Scotty ain't killed Foolio, though. He was copping pleas to Foolio's brother Nard in the county. So yeah, this is just kind of going viral everywhere. It's going viral on all the different subreddits, even the non-Jacksonville gang subreddits. So over on Chiracology, people are posting this because it's really like, you know, it really felt like the end of the Jacksonville gang war story, and that's why I kind of decided that it was time to do the full 4-hour documentary. But, you know, this is sort of almost like a bit of an aftermath to it. 2 of Foolio's killers got stabbed today, both in critical condition. These are the same posts we've already seen, I believe, but going around a different sub. It says, prisons in the South are the closest thing to hell. They on that sweat equity, man. It says, facts, rehabilitation is a myth down south. It's a myth in America, period. Prisons are a form of population control and slavery. That's it. The populace don't want rehabilitation. That would require spending enormous amounts of money on people who are very often the least deserving. There's no rehab in any prison in America. You're a dollar sign to a white man who simply goes golfing every day. I don't mean to sound offensive, but as a white dude, I've got to be honest. That's crazy. Someone saying, I lived in the South and used to work in a prison. I wasn't a guard. I would work on their computers. The warden once told me never use the word rehabilitation around him. Wow. He believes prison is strictly about punishment and that's it. This place was spending about 10 cents per inmate a day, or 0.1 cents per inmate a day. They had to eat expired food that the military couldn't feed soldiers, and they would buy pallets of expired food from grocery stores. They basically made the inmates or the family pay for canteen if they wanted decent food, and they also charged family members if they wanted to send emails or call, and it was $20 per visitor if they wanted to visit in person. They had a work program that the prison would keep about 80% of their pay, because in Tennessee, you have to pay off your prison stay in some instances. There are jails in Mexico that are better than the South. I'm not condoning this, but I will say one thing. If you've committed a crime like murder and you end up in prison, why are you getting all that free rent? I know it sucks, right? But like, maybe you should pay for your food, because out here in the real world, ain't no one giving you no free food. I mean, I know that there's programs for people on low income to get free food, and that's fine. But like the idea that it's just like you should expect quality food. I mean, the option to be able to pay for better food, if it's there, then that's fine. But it's just like the idea that it's just like these guys should be getting good food. Expired food, okay, that's a little bit inhumane. But like prison food isn't meant to be good. It's not meant to be really tolerable. But, you know, the non-payment of labor is pretty crazy. And they said they turning dudes into slave. Sweat equity, man. I broke that down in the video. That's what they really do in sweat equity. It says prison in Florida is actually crazy. Probably 100 degrees. Ain't no parole. Might as well just check out when you got life. No AC with the Florida heat. It's crazy, crazy. All right. Foolio was the ticket. This shit, not surprising. I ain't going to lie. I don't really pay attention to that stuff, but did people die behind him? It seemed like these dudes were sloppy as F. It was surprising to me none of his killers got touched in the year or so it took the cops to put the case together. People say not really, at least from what I remember. Most of their steppers are dead or locked up, and any attempts they have now usually lead to those shooters getting locked up. They've also been really unlucky or sloppy, which means nobody dies either. One person died, but he wasn't really related to this situation as far as I know, just family with one of the dead members from 1200, and that's it. It says they definitely slide though. Main target from No Hospital Gang got hit in the face but lived. They killed a little boy in the same drill who was his little cousin, and that led to 4 more shooters getting locked. They all just go to jail and nobody dies when they slide. It's sad, really. It's a sad situation. So bro said both in critical condition. How do you know that? There's no article, no evidence, just literally some dudes posting on IG. A lot of people saying it's probably cap. Look, I don't know. I'm only going by the evidence that I'm seeing posted around here. It says dudes be saying this and then the victims end up with a cat scratch, but damn though, they got up with their ass quick as hell. Other people saying I bet nothing happened. So there's kind of like a bunch of posts going around that are just sort of speculating on this. This is a 45th member dissing Sean and Ghost. People saying rest up 6. Almost got them too. How Ghost got smoked. And this is going around some of the kind of like hip hop news pages that they were reportedly hospitalized after this incident. But again, there's a lot of skepticism. Some people don't think it's real. But obviously, I'm kind of bringing you the discourse around this. It says Sean ain't get stabbed. He's still in confinement. I ain't believing Ghost got stabbed until it say he at RMC main unit or until it say he in confinement tomorrow. It just don't make sense because Scotty at the same prison. He been there for months, and why ain't nothing been happened to him about Buck or Bibby? You really can't believe stuff because dudes in the chain gang will act like they did something, but whole time dude's still walking around the compound untouched. I seen it with my own eyes. I said, bruh, it ain't gonna update that fast. It just happened today. People saying I ain't believing it till the update. So Scotty ain't do nothing. He got no bodies. No one cares about him. Scotty ain't kill the face of the six. He was copping pleas to Nard, Foolio's brother in the county. Says, y'all really can't assume that was get back for Foolio. It probably, or probably was that he was trying to join Cut because that's the home team or something. And the gang they was going through it got Ghost as well. There's a real war up the road in the prisons. Says, Sean Gathrights lifers are up here denying anything and everything like they do in time with him in the cell. Says, gang, if he gets stabbed, he's going to Lake Butler. That's a medical camp. Outside medical first and then Lake Butler. So the last we heard, Foolio's, sort of from the people that were involved in Foolio's murder, apparently DaVon Murphy had actually been caught up attacking the guards. So it said there were 5 years added to his life sentence for punching a corrections officer in the face. So he got life without the possibility of parole. So I guess when he dies, they're going to wake his ass up and make him serve 5 more years. I don't know how that works, but shit, they just doing what they can at this point. They're saying a drop in the ocean. All right. It's crazy. That is true. It says, what does he got to lose? Crashing out against Foolio is crazy work, getting a life sentence because of it. All right. He's the only dude that showed no remorse. He clapped when the judge said Foolio was asking for it. He's the one who accepted his fate and responsibility. He might, you know what I'm saying? He might just have accepted his fate. And he's just playing his role as a soldier. Now he's doing it behind the wall. They're saying Ghost has 3 bodies. Foolio wasn't his first one. They could have let the body... no, I'm going to say... That said body snatchers. It said booty snatchers. Didn't they say in court he's slow? Said, who give a shit? Dude got life without parole. What are they going to do? Charge him for it? Said, when I was locked up, someone would do something like that. And we'd be like, oh shit, he's going to jail. That's crazy. This dude ain't never going to touch a woman or free air again. I don't know why hitting a guard is news all over the web. It says, man, people don't understand. Some of us think rationally. Some people don't. That's why rational people can't understand what unrational people do. Buddy was full ready for whatever came with his actions. That's why you should just walk away from confrontations. A lot of people will delete you for no reason at all, and then they were hunting Foolio, so someone like him can take a life sentence, no questions asked. He's a crash out. So don't get mad, but it's irrational, bro. People saying that's home forever, all right, for infinite time. He's lashing out. The life sentence didn't hit him yet. Probably accepted he's in prison for life, just doesn't care. He's doing whatever he wants in that bitch. So then you zone out one light and you're like, damn, I'm never going home. Beanie Siegel's song, What Your Life, needs to be required listening before you do any gangster stuff. People saying, what did the CO do? Okay, so interestingly enough, okay, if a little update on Sean Gathright, it was around kind of like June 28th, 2026, so this year, not too long ago. Just over a month ago, Sean Gathright and Isaiah Chance were actually the first to be transferred from the Hillsborough County Jail into the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections, i.e. sweat equity time.
We have our first post-sentencing update. Sean Gathright and Isaiah Chance are no longer in the Hillsborough County Jail. They've officially entered the Florida Department of Corrections. Both have been transferred to Central Florida Reception Center, or CFRC. This is not where they'll serve their life sentences. CFRC is basically Florida's intake center. This is where inmates are medically evaluated, classified, assigned a custody level, and eventually told which prison they'll spend the rest of their sentence in. Right now, they're both listed in administrative confinement during that intake process. Once Florida finishes evaluating them, they'll be transferred again, this time to the prison where they'll actually serve their life sentences. Now, you may be wondering, what about DaVon and Rashad? They're both still in the Hillsborough County Jail. DaVon still has unfinished business in Hillsborough because he has a pending criminal case involving an alleged battery on a law enforcement officer while he was in custody. Rashad hasn't been transferred either, and at this point, there's been no public explanation as to why. We'll be tracking all 4 defendants, so as soon as DaVon and Rashad are moved, or when Sean and Isaiah are assigned to their permanent prisons, you'll hear about it here first.
Very interesting. So a few days after that, we'd get another update. That's when Rashad Murphy, aka Ghost 187, and now he's doing life without parole for a 187. He would be the next to be transferred from the Hillsborough County Jail to Florida State custody, i.e. sweat equity.
Rashad Murphy has officially been transferred out of the Hillsborough County Jail. He's now in the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections and has arrived at the Central Florida Reception Center, better known as CFRC. If you've been following our coverage, you'll remember that Sean Gathright and Isaiah Chance were both transferred there first as well. Now, it's important to understand that CFRC is not Rashad's permanent prison. This is Florida's Reception and Classification Center. Every newly sentenced state inmate goes through this process before being assigned to a long-term correctional institution. During the next several weeks, prison officials will conduct medical evaluations, mental health screenings, review his criminal history, determine his custody level, and access any programming or housing needs. All of that information helps the Department of Corrections decide where he'll spend the rest of his sentence. As of today, Rashad is listed in administrative confinement. That's a standard housing status during intake and shouldn't be confused with disciplinary confinement or a punishment. Once the reception process is complete, he'll be transferred again to the prison where he'll actually serve his life sentence. This means 3 of the 4 defendants convicted in the murder of Charles Jones, better known as Foolio, have now entered the Florida prison system. Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, and now Rashad Murphy have all left the county jail. That leaves just 1 defendant still in the Hillsborough County Jail, DaVon Murphy. We'll continue following all of these transfers, prison assignments, court filings, and any new developments as they happen.
Very interesting. So this was also around the same time that Alysia Andrews was also getting transferred, even though she ain't doing life without the possibility of parole.
We've got another update in the Foolio case, and this time it's about Alysia Andrews. Alysia has officially entered the Florida Department of Corrections. According to FDOC records, she was transferred from the Hillsborough County Jail on June 8th and is now at the Florida Women's Reception Center in Ocala, Florida. Now, if you've been following our updates on Sean, Isaiah, and Rashad, you've probably heard us talk about the Central Florida Reception Center. This is basically the women's version of that facility. And here's the important part. This is not Alicia's permanent prison. The reception center is where every inmate goes through the intake process after sentencing. That includes medical evaluations, mental health screenings, custody classification, and a number of other assessments. The Department of Corrections uses all of that information to determine which prison is the best fit based on security level, programming, medical needs, and available bed space. That process usually takes around 3 to 4 weeks, but it isn't set in stone. Some inmates move through faster, while others stay longer depending on their individual circumstances and available space in the prison system. Right now, Alysia is listed as medium custody, and unlike Sean, Isaiah, and Rashad, she's not in administrative confinement during the reception process. Another major difference is her sentence. The 4 men convicted in the Foolio murder case were all sentenced to life in prison. Alysia wasn't. According to the Department of Corrections, her current projected release date is July 25th, 2039. So while this transfer is an important milestone, it doesn't mean she's reached her final destination. Once the Department of Corrections finishes evaluating her, she'll be transferred one more time to the prison where she'll actually serve the remainder of her sentence. As always, we'll continue tracking these
So they're all getting sent up the road, getting sent where they need to be. And in addition to that, DaVon Murphy, it would be July the 9th, 2026, when he was transferred from the Hillsborough County Jail to the custody of the Florida Department of
Well,
Corrections.
that's it. DaVon Murphy has officially left the Hillsborough County Jail and entered the Florida Department of Corrections. That means all 4 men convicted in the murder of Charles Foolio Jones are now officially in state custody. But if you've been following this case, you probably noticed something. Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, and Rashad Murphy all transferred last week. So, why was DaVon the last one? The answer has nothing to do with the Foolio case itself. While DaVon had already been sentenced to life for his role in the murder, he still had another criminal case pending in Hillsborough County. Back in February, while he was being held at the Falkenberg Road jail awaiting trial, prosecutors say DaVon became upset when another inmate was being moved. According to the arrest affidavit, he ignored deputies' commands and punched a detention deputy, knocking him to the ground. That incident resulted in a new charge of battery on a law enforcement officer. Instead of taking that case to trial, DaVon entered a plea and on June 29th was sentenced to an additional 5 years in prison. Because that case had to be resolved first, he remained in the county jail while the other defendants had already begun moving through the state prison system. Now that everything is complete, DaVon has officially been transferred to the Central Florida Reception Center, also known as CFRC. This isn't his permanent prison. CFRC is Florida's intake facility where newly sentenced inmates go through medical evaluations, security classification, and processing before being assigned to the institution where they'll actually serve their sentence. Right now, DaVon is listed in administrative confinement, which is a standard part of that intake process, and his custody status is still listed as pending while Florida completes its evaluation. So, with DaVon's arrival at CFRC, all 4 defendants have now entered the Florida Department of Corrections. The next update we'll be watching is for where each of them is ultimately assigned to serve their life sentences.
So, waiting to find out where each of them are getting assigned, and we are getting some small updates. So, the day after DaVon Murphy was transferred to the Department of Corrections, that's when Alysia Andrews actually completed the intake process on July the 10th, and she was assigned to the Gadsden Correctional Facility.
Alysia Andrews has officially reached the next chapter of her sentence. She's no longer at the Central Florida Reception Center. The Florida Department of Corrections has now assigned her to Gadsden Correctional Facility in Quincy, Florida. That means she's completed the reception process and has arrived at what is expected to be her long-term institution. So, what happens next? For the past several weeks, Alysia has been going through Florida's intake process. During that time, inmates receive medical and mental health evaluations, security assessments, and are classified to determine where they'll serve their sentence. Now that she's at Gadsden, life becomes much more structured. Her days will revolve around a regular prison schedule, count times, meals, work assignments, educational or vocational programs if she's eligible, recreational periods, and visitation. Because Alysia is classified as a medium custody inmate, she'll have more movement within the institution than inmates in close or maximum custody, but she'll still be living under a highly structured environment with strict rules and supervision. Gadsden Correctional Facility is one of Florida's larger women's prisons, housing well over 1,000 inmates. It's located just outside Tallahassee in Quincy and serves as a long-term institution rather than a temporary reception center. This also makes Alysia the first defendant in the Foolio case to reach a permanent prison assignment. Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, Rashad Murphy, and DaVon Murphy are all still at the Central Florida Reception Center, where they're waiting for the Department of Corrections to decide where they'll spend the rest of their sentences. Another thing that we're watching, when inmates arrive at their permanent institution, the Department of Corrections will sometimes update their file with a new institutional photograph. That hasn't happened yet for Alysia, but if it does, you'll hear about it here first.
So this is the last thing I'm going to share with you, okay? But basically one thing that apparently is pointing towards Rashad Murphy potentially not being stabbed was that he was actually transferred from the Central Florida Reception Center officially to the Walton Correctional Institution around July 28th, so like roughly just under a week
Rashad
ago.
Murphy has officially been transferred again. After spending weeks at the Central Florida Reception Center, Rashad has now arrived at Walton Correctional Institution in Funiac Springs, Florida. If you've been following our updates, you know the reception center was never meant to be his final stop. Every inmate entering the Florida Department of Corrections goes through the intake process first. That's where they're evaluated medically, classified, assigned a custody level, and ultimately placed at the prison where they'll serve their sentence. For Rashad, that prison is Walton Correctional Institution. Walton is located in Florida's Panhandle, about an hour north of Destin. It's a state prison for adult men that houses inmates with multiple security classifications and can house approximately 1,200 inmates. The Florida Department of Corrections also lists Rashad as close custody, which is Florida's highest routine custody classification. So what does that mean? It means Rashad will be housed under a higher level of scrutiny than inmates in minimum or medium custody. Inmates in close custody typically have more restricted movement throughout the institution, closer supervision by correctional staff, and fewer privileges than inmates in lower custody levels. That doesn't necessarily mean he's had disciplinary problems. Because he's only recently entered the state prison system, the classification is more likely based on the seriousness of his convictions, his life sentence, and the department's initial security assessment. Florida reviews inmate classifications over time, so while he's currently listed as close custody, that status could change in the future if the department determines it's appropriate. Rashad now joins Alysia Andrews as one of the defendants who has reached a long-term correctional facility. Alysia is currently housed at Gadsden Correctional Facility in Quincy, Florida, while Rashad is now at Walton Correctional Institution in Funiac Springs. The two prisons are only about 90 miles apart, but they're completely separate facilities serving different populations. Alysia in a women's institution and Rashad in a men's institution. That leaves Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, and DaVon Murphy still awaiting their permanent prison assignments. As those decisions are made, we'll continue following every transfer and every major development. The trial may be over, but the story doesn't end at sentencing.
Crazy. Okay, so look, I'll let you guys know if I hear anything else about, you know, these potential stabbings and what was going on with that, whether that's true, whether that's false. I wonder if more information will come out. A lot of people were seemingly claiming and celebrating it, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is, you know, it's just so tragic, everything that's gone down in Jacksonville, and these are people that are now facing the consequences, the real life consequences of what actually happens when you indulge and engage in these just despicable gang wars. It has to stop. Maybe now, after everything that's happened, you know, things will stop. The next generation will learn to do better in Jacksonville. But just prayers up for everybody that was affected by this gang war. And, you know, if you want to learn more about that, go and watch the kind of long form piece that I did breaking everything down. But thank you for watching this. See you guys in the next video. I'm out for now. Peace.